You're watching the Fantasy Rankings Report only on Fantasy Now Plus. Hello, my name is Topher Kurt, but you can call me Topher, and welcome to the Fantasy Rankings Report, where we compare running back and wide receiver rankings from 6 different fantasy football companies. And I'm here with my co-host, Michael Flores. How are you doing tonight, buddy?
Fantastic. We're about halfway done with the season, over halfway done with the season, and so we're about to get into that home stretch here. So
Yeah,
hoping I survive.
I was looking stuff up and I was like, this can't be week 10. No, we cannot be in double digit of NFL season already. I don't like that. The NFL season, it just goes by too quickly. It really
You
does.
get one game a week essentially one game a week for whatever team you're cheering for, and then it just come and go so quickly.
And then you have to watch a game like the Panthers and Packers. Ugh.
I thought it was great.
I am going to hit you with my car. I'm going to drive through 4 states, find where you live, and hit you with my car. Okay. We're still at the top of the NFC North, though. So, I am our wide receiver expert, and Michael is our running back expert on this show. Real fun fact about hitting people with cars. I threaten violence like that to my students all the time. Like, I'm going to run you over with my lawnmower, or I'm going to put you through a snowblower, or, does somebody have a truck that I can borrow so I can hit them on their way out of school? Fun, uplifting things. I've said it so much that a student came to school on the first day of school with a picture of me on it, and it said, I'm going to run you over with my lawnmower. That was the first day of high school picture. It was a freshman. She wore a picture of me threatening her on it.
I love it.
And it's like, if that's the kind of love that I get, then I've made it in life. There are 4 different students right now that have merch that they have made, like Mr. Kurt's fan club, Mr. Kurt's favorite student, that I could start a merch store because of what students make because of me. And I love it.
That is amazing. That's fantastic.
Thank you. It's a blast. Also, my voice is not up to par. The students made me sick, gave me something. So I've the kids with the most attitudes, I have blamed them in class in front of everyone each period. I'm like, you know what? You give me enough crap. You literally gave me this crap. Then they get really defensive and I just feast on it. Okay, so let's get to the fantasy football stuff now, though. I do want to mention that the show is brought to you by Fantasy Now Plus and the Finns Talk Sports Network, and you should subscribe to both channels. Links are in the description below. We would love to have you check out what we do, including our rankings over at Fantasy Now Plus, because Michael and I both participate in those. Woo-hoo. Okay. Michael, get us going.
Absolutely excited to do so. So as we start every show off, we started with the ranking question of the day. This is where Topher and we ask each other questions about rankings in any way, shape, form. Could be about our expertise, could be really anything fantasy football related. I am going to go a slightly different route this week, and it's not going to be something that has a current answer. I am going to give you 3 wide receivers, 3 running backs, with where they currently rank, and then I want you to take a guess about where they will finish the end of this season. Could be a small range, it could be exact number if you're feeling up for it. But let's start with the running backs first. And I got 3 running backs who are doing okay at best, I guess. They're doing all right. So first up, we have DeAndre Swift, who is currently ranked 16. This is all based on fantasy points, by the way. Chase Brown, who's ranked 21, and Alvin Kamara, who's ranked 35. Where do you think those 3 running backs will finish at the end of the year?
Okay, so we'll start with Chase Brown because I've not been a huge Chase Brown believer. I was kind of adamant about that at the beginning of the year, was like, he is being drafted way too high. I don't think I touched him even in best ball drafts. Maybe if I was like had a Jamar Chase and I knew that I could get um Chase Brown and then a Joe Burrow, but with Joe Burrow out, that doesn't matter. I only stacked Brown and Burrow together. So, but that's okay because Chase Brown hasn't been doing much except for the past 3 weeks. He's actually kicked it up a notch. Seeing that's the case, Chase Brown right now at 21, seeing how there's a litany of injuries. This year feels more injury riddled than years before. I'm gonna say he ends up in the high mid. I'm gonna say 15. No, let's do 14 to 18. So kind of
Okay.
upper running back 2 tier right there. Um, it's going to be inflated by a few good weeks. It's going to be inflated by injury, and he's going to get overdrafted again next year.
By me.
Yep, you can have him. DeAndre Swift at 16. He was somebody that was turning it on late as well, and then he got hurt, and then Kyle Manungai just
Looks amazing.
looked phenomenal. And so that's going to be a split backfield. If not, DeAndre Swift is about to be Rico Dowdled by Kyle Manungai. DeAndre Swift, I'm going to put him mid 20s. I'm going 23 to 27. I'm erring on that lower number, but I feel like, he's 16 right now. 23 is kind of a bigger fall. It just depends on what they execute with him. And Alvin Kamara at 35. Oof, he's playing like he's 35. I'm 33, and I cannot imagine what it would be like to be playing in the NFL at 35, let alone 33. Uh, so Alvin Kamara, I feel bad for him. This is not how he should be ending his NFL career, but I think he's going to be, he's going to stay right around there. I'm going to go 33, 37, right around there. So a decade below DeAndre Swift.
Sounds good. And then I have 3 wide receivers for you as well. A couple of them started late.
Yep.
One of them is definitely outperforming my expectations, and I'm sure a few others. I got Rashee Rice, who's currently 46, Jordan Addison, ranked 43, and Keenan Allen, ranking 17.
Yeah, we're going to start with Keenan Allen on this one. I'm going to tell you that I think Keenan Allen is going to continue to just be the stalwart, just the safety net for Justin Herbert, especially now that both their tremendous tackles are out. Their running back injuries are still abundant. Keenan Allen is going to be that safety valve. I think Keenan Allen stays above 25. He finishes as a top 24 receiver. I think a wide receiver 2 is a fair thing. I'd say lower half, 18 to 24 is where he's going to end up. Now with these other two, Rashee Rice and Jordan Addison, I like the trickery, but I don't. However, they are both playing out of their mind bonkers really well. Jordan Addison, I'm going to put him by the end of the season. He's going to be right at that wide receiver 3 cusp, 25 to 28. And Rashee Rice, even though he has he's played 3 less games than Jordan Addison, they're almost virtually ranked by each other. I'm going to put Rashee Rice I'm going to say right around 20. Right around 20. He's just going to continue to eclipse and be that focal point and be what Patrick Mahomes needs throughout it all. I like this. I like this because it's not like it's not tangible right now. This is good. This is
Yeah,
good.
and we'll definitely look back on this one at the end of the year and see how well you did.
There we go. That's what we're talking about. I do want to go to our screen share before we get to the meatiest part of our show. This is the Google Doc, the Google Sheet that we use to do our rankings. So we take rank, we get the rank from the average, mode, high, low, range. It's kind of fun to see all of this. That's useful. It's really good to see. Like, for instance, somebody I'll talk about later, Garrett Wilson has a range of 22 as the wide receiver 23 in our rankings. Injury does have to do with it, but it's nice to see, like, okay, what with Rome Odunze, 14. Some people have him at 8. Some people have him at 22. What do you do with Rome Odunze when he was held without a catch last week? Let alone when you're on by Mageddon part 27 and injuries spectacular. What are you going to do down in these lower ranges? And so I love being able to do this. And here is the running back tab, just so you can see that we are functioning under that same thing. Boom. Okay. Let's bring it back together. And we have our first question. Sergio, thank you for being here. On Flex, pick one. Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, Khalil Shakir, Kyle Manungai. I go, if Swift is out, Manungai. That's kind of my thought. I think you should pick up Colson Loveland. I'm a Packers fan. I think you should, no matter what. I'd rather have Loveland on my team than Shakir, but that's just a personal preference. Michael?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'd like either Swift and Manungai, and I'll get into more detail on why actually later on.
Ooh.
But this is a good week for both of them. They're going up against the Giants. It's a great week for them. Jalen Warren, I like. I'm just not fully set on him just yet. And then Shakir, I'm not a fan right now. And I love Debo, but it's going to be interesting to see how that team moves forward.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. It could be very interesting to see how they move forward. Thank you for asking the question. And for anyone else that is out there, if you have questions as we're chugging along, we will get to it. It might not be right in the second that you ask for it as we are going through segments, but we will definitely answer those questions. Our first main part of the show is steady and safe. This is the part of the show where we each highlight 3 players in our positions of expertise that the consensus agrees upon. The person who did not ask the opening question starts this segment. That was a thing for me, not for y'all, but there we go. I wasn't gonna not finish my sentence. Okay, so let's talk about wide receivers that are steady and safe according to the expert rankings. And we're talking about Bears players a lot right now, and I don't like that. It makes me ill to my stomach, but I've got to. Olamide Zaccheaus, range of 4, wide receiver 43. That was crazy last week because he was getting everything under the sun and a little bit more. And he is what everybody thought kind of Luther Burden would be getting, that kind of role. And Olamide Zaccheaus in 6 out of his 8 games has had at least 5 targets, which is very surprising. He definitely had his best game last week against Cincinnati, but that doesn't mean that he can't continue to step up. There's a clear chemistry there between him and Caleb Williams there's almost more consistent than him and Rome Odunze on a weekly level. But he's not going to give you the big playability that Rome Odunze has. He's often, especially what I saw this past week, it's often like little in and outs to the sideline, getting them a first down or gaining 7 to make it second and short. That Olamide does. But he is a steady and safe start, I think, right now for a flex position.
I like that. I was very confused when they signed him, but he's been a nice, like, I don't know if you want to call him a security blanket, but he kind of is. When Williams gets a little antsy and doesn't know where to go, he usually finds OZ, and I like it a lot.
OZ. OZ. Dr. Oz.
Hey, man, he is surgical out there, so I like it.
That's fair.
So my first guy I'm gonna go with is Ashton Genty. I feel like I haven't really talked much about him this year. Started the season super high on him. I'm pretty sure most people were. Wasn't really sure what was happening with that line, but right now he's ranked at RB 14. He's got a range of 3. He's anywhere from 13 to 16. He's coming off his best game since week 4 versus the Bears, of course, and that's the week he finished RB 1. This past week he went up against Jacksonville, finished RB 5. He only had 42 rushing yards though, which finishing RB 5 with 42 rushing yards is kind of interesting. But he caught all 5 targets that went his way for 47 yards and a touchdown. Now, Denver's next. That's where I'm a little hesitant to make him my safe and steady play, but the consensus is really high on him this week. Denver has a top 10 rushing defense, but if he's going to continue to get targets and he's going to continue to get receiving yards, this will be another game for him to do it. Denver is currently has given up the 10th most receiving yards to running backs. So while they're stopping them in the run game, they are allowing those targets to happen and allowing those yards to come out of that passing game to running backs. So if they feel more comfortable with him this week and being able to go ahead and throw him the ball instead of letting him try to run it up the middle on them, he can still get his points this week. And it'll be in the passing game. It just won't be rushing the ball.
Yeah, I like that. I like that little deep dive on the receiving yardage, because Denver's a stalwart defense, but that's kind of a little hole in it.
Mhm.
That's not something you think about a lot with Denver. Okay, my wide receiver that I want to talk about, steady and safe, second is DK Metcalf, wide receiver 20 in our rankings, and he has a range of 4 amongst the experts. Now, remember, we're talking about the experts here, what they think. I don't know if I would have DK Metcalf up in my top 24 right now. DK Metcalf over the past 3 weeks has had 50, 55, and 6 receiving yards. He's had 10 total receptions and 1 touchdown. Before that, he had 4 out of 5 games with touchdowns. He had 3 of those games with at least 80 yards or more. And I talked about a few weeks ago, he is not somebody that is getting a whole lot of receptions. He's only had 2 games with 5 or more receptions on the year. This is not his game anymore. It's been slowly decreasing throughout his career. And they play the Chargers. And the Chargers are a top 5 worst matchup for wide receivers in fantasy football. You do not want to be playing them. Yes, did the Steelers just have a stunning victory over the Colts? Yes, but does that matter if DK Metcalf only had 6 yards? That doesn't matter fantasy wise. They're not playing fantasy football. They are definitely not worried about your fantasy team. And JRSWO, thank you, wasn't expecting DK. Myself either. When I was looking at steady and safe, when I was looking at the rankings, I was like, there's no way this guy has one of our smallest ranges. But here we are. I wouldn't necessarily feel steady and safe with him, but the experts do.
Yeah, he got me a solid like 1 point. I don't know, 6 yards or 6 points this week. But he's one of those guys that can just all of a sudden have that game, and that's why I have to keep him teetering there, whether or not I'm playing him.
Yep.
My next guy, going with David Montgomery. Now, this is an interesting one. He has been in the running back 2 tier all year, and it just doesn't feel like it to me. He's currently listed as RB20. His range is 19 to 22. So the consensus are only has a range of 3 on him. He's not having the quite same year as he did last year. Last year, he didn't play the last 3 games of the year, and only 2 games did he finish in single digits in fantasy points. This year so far, out of 8 games, only 4 of them are double digit points. So looking at that, I'm like, okay, so where's that difference coming from? Must be the snap count. He's averaging about 39% of the snap count this year. Sure, that's probably gone down, right? Last year, he was actually averaging 27.9% of snap count. He was just getting a lot of touches. The one thing that can really help him this week, if they want to get him back into it, is they're playing Washington.
Mhm.
Now, Washington is probably worst luck team this year, I think. If you look at their injury report, they just
Uh,
lost Jaden Daniels. They lost their best edge rusher. They lost, if I remember correctly, Terry's pretty much out. Like,
Terry's been
but
out. Austin Eckler been out.
Eckler,
Like
yes, thank
it
you.
is, and it's on both sides of the ball as well. It's just been brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's gonna be could be his saving grace this year. This week. That's probably what the experts are thinking as having him this high again, because Washington is currently giving up 124.2 rushing yards a game. So if he's gonna do it again if he's gonna come back this week, this is a good shot for him to do it. I love Jameer Gibbs. He obviously should be controlling that backfield, but the 1-2 punch, the Sonic Knuckles, has to kick in soon if they really want to turn it up.
Yes, I definitely agree with you there. Okay, I am looking real quick. Um, let's see. I am using a little chat GPT here because they actually pull up stats really, really nicely. Um, so I'm doing this for my next wide receiver number 53 in ranking, Troy Franklin, who's got a range of 5, steady and safe. He is more than steady and safe to me. I really like him. Let's talk about it just a little bit. Um, over the past 4 weeks, Troy Franklin has gotten the same amount of targets as Cortland Sutton or eclipsed him in the past 4 weeks. Cortland Sutton's been getting some more consistent yardage, but Cortland's had 2 of his last 4 games with 1 reception. Troy Franklin this year, except for 1 game, has had 3 or more receptions in games. He's also a downfield threat that Bo Nix likes to go to. Remember, Troy Franklin played with Bo Nix in college. So they've already have that connection. Troy Franklin also has 2 more targets on the season than Cortland Sutton, and they've played the same amount of games. Troy Franklin right now is only playing 60 to 70% of the snaps. Cortland Sutton is in there at least 90% of the time. Franklin's slowly coming in and becoming kind of that main option there. He's wide receiver 25 on the season right now, and he's being ranked at consensus wide receiver 53. He's more than steady and safe to me. He's going to give you he's he's definitely going to be up or down like DK Metcalf, but I'd much rather start a Troy Franklin where I know, yes, it might not be everything, but I know that I'm still going to get a big game from him every few times. And he scored in the 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games. So there's some camaraderie there. There's some build there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm not sure really where he was drafted, if he was drafted very high on a lot of places, but he was a free agent after the first few weeks in a bunch of my leagues, and
Yep.
it's a nice little pickup.
Yes.
My last steady and safe guy, I actually like his backup more, but I'm starting to see a little bit of a shift change. So I'm going with Kenneth Walker. He's currently
Ooh.
listed as RB22, range of 5, 21 to 26. And this past week, he's coming off a 54% snap share. But the big thing that they did do this week with him that is different from previous weeks is he got 2 goal line carries, which is typically not what they like to do. They like to give those to Charbonnet. He also caught a couple passes. It's his first time with multiple catches since week 1. But if that's going to start changing where they're going to start giving him those goal line carries, there's going to be a chance for him to start racking up those touchdown numbers. And they have Arizona next. They are closer to the middle of the pack, but they're based on just numbers, they're almost a top 10 rush defense. And I'm thinking what's keeping the consensus really high on him is the fact that he is the starter there. Now, I'm not sure if I'm really as high as the consensus is this week on him, but if that, like I said, if that snap share in the red zone is really gonna shift over to him, it's going to be a huge shift in his numbers if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was very big on Zach Charbonnet at the beginning of the season, and I'm not anymore. But there's lots of reasons why. I'm not huge on Kenneth Walker either, but he's getting the upper hand. And he's playing like it. When you watch the game, Kenneth Walker looks better.
Hmm.
So I'm with you. Let's look at our main segment of the show, Experts Against Experts. This is the part of the show where we each highlight 5 players in our positions of expertise that the consensus disagrees on. We will each talk about one from each of our tiers. For example, wide receiver 1, 2, wide receiver 4, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to start off with my love. One of the first things that I ever said when I got hired by Fantasy Now Plus is I love Zay Flowers. I still do. I don't like his lack of touchdowns, but we're going to talk about that. Right now, wide receiver Zay Flowers is wide receiver 11. He's got a range of 7 for this week, 9 being his highest, 16 being the lowest. Despite that, he is wide receiver 30 in fantasy points per game. His weekly average, he's got 5.8 receptions, 69 yards, nice, and 0.13 TDs per week. He's had 5 to 7 receptions in 7 out of his 8 games, and he's had 60 plus yards in 6 of his 8 games. He's top 15 in the league when it comes to yardage and receptions. So things that I've been very high on him, it's those sticky stats, that yardage and receptions, big things for him. He also has a 30% target share for the Baltimore Ravens, 32% air yard share, and only a 7% end zone target share. Baltimore has 15 passing TDs this season. Zay Flowers only has 1 of them. He only has 1 touchdown on the season. Mark Andrews is the only skill player with more than 2 touchdowns, more than 2 receiving touchdowns. So it does not matter who's getting the touchdown as long as the Ravens are scoring. They don't care who's getting that touchdown. Zay, however, did have his 2 of his 3 worst weeks when Lamar Jackson was out. Since week 4, their opponent this week, the Minnesota Vikings, have allowed 5 wide receivers to get up to at least 85 yards since week 4 and given up 7 wide receiver touchdowns. Something that I talked about early in the year and something I talked about when it came to Zay Flowers was Rashad Bateman and DeAndre Hopkins were touchdowns hogs last year, and Zay Flowers only had 4. It's like those 2 will not continue to be touchdown hogs. They are not. No one on the team is, but Zay Flowers, that is always going to be his Achilles heel, I feel, is that he will not be a end zone target. He's the size of my left leg, but he is so shifty and so good. But he has to earn the touchdowns in a way that somebody like I'm going to just use DK Metcalf, a giant god, does not have to fight for it because they're a height difference of a foot. and muscle mass of 5,000 pounds. But I still think Zay Flowers is a good play this week. Minnesota's secondary, ever since playing that Bengals game where they were like, oh my gosh, they shut down Jamar Chase and intercepted, blah, 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 blah. They haven't been much of anything. They really haven't. And Lamar's back and they want to win. And Zay Flowers is their most consistent, best asset, the most targeted guy, consistently there. JRSWO, been trying to buy Zay all year. That is very smart of you. I have been trying to as well. And I tried it right after his worst game when Lamar was out and we didn't know where he was, when he's going to come back. I was trying to get him then, but people like him too, and I don't like. They're listening to me. Obviously, they want me to fail. But I like Zay Flowers this week. I don't know if I have him as a wide receiver 1 this week. I put him right on the cusp where he is wide receiver 11. I think I have him at like 14 this week, so it's very close.
Yeah, I like that because they really do need to start really turning it on if they're going to do anything this year. And like you said, it was his worst games were when Lamar was out. If I'm not mistaken, I think they scored once on offense when Cooper Rush was
Yeah,
that quarterback.
he had 1 passing touchdown. Lamar has 14. Yep.
Yeah, so Zay Flowers is gonna love Jackson being back.
Mm.
So my first guy I'm going with in the RB1 tier got Saquon Barkley. Currently listed RB9. His range is 7, anywhere from 7 to 14. So let's talk Saquon last year. Last year, he had 10 games where he finished as RB10 or better. Did not play in the final game. 7 of them, top 5. 4 of them, number 1. Now this year, he has finished RB10 or better twice. That was week 1, where he finished RB7, and they're coming off a bye week, but the week before, week 8, he finished RB3. Had 150 rushing yards, a touchdown, 4 receptions for 24 yards, another touchdown there. He did have to come out for an injury though, but he is on track to play this week. There's no designation for him on this week. But he's facing Green Bay next. Now, last week I came in here and I'm like, oh, Green Bay's rush defense so good. You have to sit your running backs, you play them. There's no way you let your running back go up against Green Bay's defense. I'm not telling you to do that this week. It's Saquon. You gotta see what he can do. Especially because Rico Dowdle also was able to go off on them last week. 130 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Even though Green Bay is still a top 5 rush defense, if Saquon is back, Green Bay's not stopping them. And I actually this past week declined a trade in one of my redraft leagues. They wanted Saquon for me. They offered me Jaden Daniels. So happy I declined because I would have liked a better quarterback.
Oh my goodness. Oof.
That would have been easily one of the worst trades I've ever made. Literally within a couple hours, he gets injured. So happy that didn't happen. But Saquon, you gotta play him. I understand it's Green Bay, but it's also Saquon.
Yes, I agree. And Green Bay showed some holes last week that I didn't like. We alluded to that earlier. I had my therapy session earlier this week, so I don't need to open any more scars and wounds. My wide receiver 2 tier guy is Garrett Wilson of the New York Jets. Part of why he's wide receiver 23. He's got a range of 22 from 12 to 34, which is a crazy range right there. However, he is coming off of a knee injury. He has been limited in practice. We don't know if he's for sure going to play, but it's really leaning like that. His weekly average this season, 6 receptions, 66 yards, 0.66 touchdowns per game. 666, 6666. Okay. He has had 8 targets in each game this season and had 70 yards in 4 of 6 games this season. Hold on, I'm gonna cough. He's got a 34% target share, 45% air yard share. 45. Almost half the time the ball is in the air, it's going towards Garrett Wilson. He's got a 20% end zone target share as well. 1 out of 5 end zone targets are going his way. Now, that's also not saying a lot for the New York Jets and Justin Fields. Speaking of Justin Fields, I do want to remind you that in 2 of games that Wilson has played, Justin Fields has thrown for under 50 passing yards. So that earlier stats of getting 70 or more yards in 4 out of 6 games, those other 2 games are not his fault. It is because of Justin Fields playing like Michael Vick in 2002 Madden, except having the throwing arm of the Greg Jennings running in Madden with a broken leg. That is his arm while trying to run like Michael Vick. That's what's happening. The Jets have 9 passing touchdowns on the season. I feel like my dogs could get more in Madden, but I digress. Wilson has 4 of those. Wilson's clearly the target. Josh Reynolds is on IR. They just traded for Adonai Mitchell, who made some costly mistakes, but I really liked him. I've really liked Adonai Mitchell, the talent there, but he was just a second-year player, and the Colts, they were like, okay, fine. Second-year wide receiver, you can take him. That's not great, but he's going to be a starter for the Jets. Backup wide receiver that just got traded is going to be a starter for the Jets this week, more than likely. The Browns, they're his opponent this week, have only allowed 5 wide receivers to get 75 plus yards on the season. However, most of those are big names and very talented wide receivers, just like Garrett Wilson himself. He is the only target in that really valuable target. Mason Taylor has had flashes in the pan. Breece Hall wants to get out of there. It has been proven on Twitter that he was essentially just waiting to be traded at the deadline and then saw his teammates being traded, his defensive superstars that are going to help him be able to run more. Breece is ready to get out of there. I'm sure Garrett Wilson is ready to get out of there. But Garrett Wilson is the viable target, wide receiver 23. I know they're playing the Browns. I feel like he's matchup proof. As long as Justin Fields throws for over like 100 yards, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, and they came out and said he was the only untouchable guy
Oh,
on their team, which sucks for him. I mean, I'd love to see him go somewhere, but
I think that would have just like, I wouldn't have shown up to practice. I'd have just been like cuddled up in my bed, phone turned off, having a voicemail message that says, nope, not today, Satan, not today. And that's all it says. You don't have to know who it is. You just know from that reaction that you're like, yep, I'm calling Garrett Wilson.
All right, my RB2 tier guy is Travion Henderson. He's actually at RB21 this week. He has a huge range, though. He has a range of 23, so they have him as high as 13, as low as 36. Now, he is coming off his best fantasy game of the season. It's not saying a whole lot, to be honest. That was about, I believe, 12.7 points in PPR. Yeah, 12.7 points in PPR. Now, he did finish with the second most rushing yards from him for this season. He finished with 55. The previous week, he finished with 75. Pretty much all his points, though, came off receptions. He was targeted 6 times, caught 4 of them, had 32 yards. He actually had a 21% target share. It was his most targets and receptions since week 1, where he was targeted and caught 6 passes. Now, this is if you think he's been struggling a little bit, granted, maybe not be fully his fault. They don't really seem like they want to use him too much. Like, they were actually looking for a running back at the trade deadline, and when they have Henderson right there, so there's something that they don't really like about him. And this week is going to be an even more difficult week for him. Tampa Bay is currently the seventh best rushing defense, and they don't give up anything really as far as receptions to running backs. So if that's where he's going to get his points from, it's not happening this week. I know he's in the RB2 tier list, but he's a guy that I'm avoiding. I'm avoiding this week. I mean, I traded him in my work redraft league. To be fair, it's not very competitive league, but I had to get rid of him, and I basically got rid of him for nothing just because the guy that I traded him with needed a running back. So they can have him. I just can't play him, even if he is an RB2 tier guy.
I feel like right now I can play him, but I don't feel like when Stevenson's back I can.
Mhm.
Um, I It's so hard to let go of him because more than likely you spend a first round rookie pick on him if you're in a dynasty league. Like
Mhm.
I had the 7th and the 9th pick in my rookie draft this year, and I almost took Henderson at 7 instead of Egbuka.
Ooh.
And then was like, you know what? I'll take Henderson because I need that running back help, and then I can hope that Egbuka's there at 9. Otherwise, I was going to take Caleb Johnson. So both of them could have been real big duds. I'm very glad that I have that. But he's not tradable. He's not cuttable.
Mhm.
But he might be your starting guy. I know that I did some wide receiver heavy leagues and picked Zach Charbonnet and Travion Henderson as my running backs in a few leagues as hey, these are guys that I know are going to get me points every week. And I can find that guy on the waiver wire that's going to build me up. And no, that just hasn't happened.
Just brought you down.
Yep. Yep. And then when your wide receivers are AJ Brown and Nico Collins and Drake London, and you're like, oh, oh, no, this is not what I drafted you for. Emotional damage, as the kids say. I'm gonna go to my wide receiver 3 tier, which is Romeo Dobbs, wide receiver 28 of the Green Bay Packers. He's got a range of 21 to 32. He's wide receiver 25 in fantasy points per game. So if you recall what Zay Flowers was, he was wide receiver 30. If you would have told me that a Green Bay Packers wide receiver, any of them, had better fantasy points per game than Zay Flowers right now, I would have laughed in your face. Let alone Romeo Dobbs. Nothing against the guy. I love him. But that's not exactly what you're expecting from him fantasy wise. His weekly average is 4.25 receptions a week, 55 yards, and half a touchdown. Now, that half a touchdown is a bit of a stretch because he did have 3 touchdowns in one game, and then he's only had one other touchdown outside of it. However, in his last 5 weeks, he has had 8 plus targets, 5 receptions, and 55 yards in 4 of those 5 games. So, very good stuff right there. 23% target share, 39% air yards, and the best thing of it all, 50% end zone target share. Every other time Jordan Love throws the ball in the end zone, it is going to Romeo Dobbs. That's really, really good. That's why he's getting fantasy points per game higher than Zay Flowers because of the touchdowns. Touchdowns can be super helpful, let's be real. Also, my heart aches saying this. Tucker Kraft is out for season. Oh, I'm not a yeller. I don't like to yell. Not good for the vocal folds. Singer here, choir director here. I have to talk over kids all day. I've got to take care of my voice as much as I can. I was literally yelling, no, this can't be real. And my husband was in the other room. And he's like, okay, did like somebody lose the ball? Like what happened? Like, and I was like, nope, nope. It's way worse than that. You would never understand, and I went into a very dramatic 80s, um, sort of drama moment, and I loved it. But not the injury, the drama. Jaden Reed has been hurt for forever. And now Matthew Golden has a shoulder injury considered day to day. I'm not sure if he's going to play against the Eagles. Hopefully he does, because we need him as a Packers fan. But Romeo Doubs is now the clear-cut one on this team, even with Christian Watson coming back. The Eagles, in 6 out of their 8 games, have allowed 80-plus yards to one of the opponent's receivers. So teams are finding a leak to have a very productive wide receiver. And this game is not. Packers often play to their opponents. That's been a problem of theirs for years. They play to their opponents. And this is going to be a good game. It's a Monday night primetime game. Romeo Doubs and that Guardian cap are going to make waves. I love it. I'm here for it. Romeo Doubs should be. If I've got Romeo Doubs or DK Metcalf, Romeo Doubs. Easily. That's my thought.
Fair. And however you feel about the Guardian cap, however anybody feels about the Guardian cap, whatever, don't care. But his Guardian cap with the throwback uniforms,
yes,
was kind of awesome. I'm not going to lie.
Everything. I was all here for it. Like, yes, yeah. Please.
Yeah, I love that they didn't just leave it as like a green or black Guardian cap, and they tried matching it to the helmet. Fantastic. Yeah. My next guy, RJ Harvey. He's currently listed RB26 with a range of 12, anywhere from 22 to 34. I don't really talk about Harvey much because I love J.K. Dobbins. There's something about him this year that I just find him. I'm in love with J.K. Dobbins this year. But anyway, Harvey was very heavily involved in the passing game this past week. Feel like that's being a common theme so far with a lot of these running backs I'm talking about. He was only a part of 20% of the snap shares throughout the game, but had 5 targets, caught all 5, had 51 yards and a touchdown. That's pretty decent for most wide receivers you're seeing lately. And he did it in 20% of a snap count as a running back. What's going to be interesting is Las Vegas is up next. They're right in the middle of the pack when it comes to rushing yards allowed, but he's only getting like 5 touches a week, so that's kind of irrelevant. Now, again, he is getting those receptions. They are including him in the passing game. And Las Vegas is allowing about 25.5 reception yards to running backs per game this year. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's how they're just solely going to use him. Because if they are, they do have some teams coming up where they can get away with that. And Las Vegas will be the one that they can get away with it. I believe they're about 18th in the league right now with receptions allowed to running backs. And if they're allowing 25.5, I can easily see Dobbins really elevating that average.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. And RJ Harvey is not seeing the field enough. I think J.K. Dobbins is the reason why, clearly. But RJ Harvey, when he's out there, does look really good. And they give him a little bit more time. I really like him. I think for fantasy purposes, he is somebody that you can play this week. I wouldn't put money that he's going to be your best player, but definitely like it. Wide receiver 4 tier, Demario Douglas of the New England Patriots, wide receiver 44. If you would have told me that this guy was going to be in a wide receiver 4 tier, the last couple years, he's been like literally wide receiver 53. Like, that's where his weekly average, like, it's just, he's right there in the middle of that wide receiver 5 tier. Now, wide receiver 4 tier, you're like, okay, what's he doing? Well, let's talk about it. He's got a range of 10, of 33 to 43. So, yes, he's wide receiver 44, but his range is 33 to 43. So, a lot more on that lower end of things. He's wide receiver 67 in fantasy points per game. He only has one game above 40% snap share. Most of his snap share has been 20, mid to low 20%. That's not great. However, he does have an 11% target share for only playing about one every 4 plays. He's got a 13% air yard share and a 13% end zone target share. That's pretty good for playing one every 4 snaps. His last 4 games in yardage, he's had 71, 17, 44, and 100 yards, along with 2 touchdowns. Kayshon Boutte is hurt. He's butthurt. He probably won't play this week, more than likely. Drake May is playing like an MVP. The Bucks have only allowed 6 wide receiver touchdowns all year. However, in their last game right before their bye, they gave a lot up to Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed against Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. It was not the best showing for the Bucks defense, and the Patriots are much better than that. Something else that you need to take into consider is this tweet from Evan Lazar, Lazar, Laser Lazar, I don't know. In his first 5 weeks, Demario Douglas had an average target depth of 5.8 yards. His numbers during that time: 7 receptions on 16 targets, 30 yards, and a touchdown. The last 4 games, his ADOT has gone up to 15.3, from 5.8 to 15.3, literally just about a 10-yard difference. 11 of 14, so 11 receptions out 14 targets, 232 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a huge difference. They're now using his skill set to let him go across the middle of the field and run down and catch what they need. I've seen him make he's not making a bunch of catches, but he's making some really crucial catches and some farther downfield ones. And it's really fun to watch. I like him. I like him. He's a good flex play this week, and he might get his season high in snap share, target share, all of those things because of Boutte being out.
Awesome. My next guy is someone that we kind of briefly touched on. So, Sergio, hope you're still listening. Hope you're still out there.
Yes.
I'm going DeAndre Swift. They have him listed as RB46. His range is 39. NFL has him as high as 17. Other places have him as low as 56. So that range is probably one of the more ridiculous ones I've seen all year. And there's actually a few of them out there that are right about 38, 39, 40 this week. But this is a huge drop for him here. Before his injury news last week, they had him listed in the RB1 tier. He was RB12 going into last week, and now he's dropped to 46. He would have been even lower, like I said, if it wasn't for NFL putting him at 17 this week. So goes from RB1 all the way down to the RB4 tier. And it's going to be interesting because Manungai went off last week in his absence. Now, he didn't score, but he put up 176 rushing yards. Also had 3 receptions in there. Now, DeAndre Swift was limited in practice today, but I feel like that's a little deceiving because I feel like he's limited in practice every Wednesday, every single week. And he's kind of just a tough SOB, man. He just goes out there, plays hurt, and just constantly literally runs with the pain. Now, I think he plays this week, so it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with this now, the new Swift Manungai situation. Is it 1A, 1B? Is it still a clear 1-2? But I don't think it matters this week. Overall in fantasy, he's been pretty serviceable. There's only 1 week actually where he didn't finish in double-digit points, and he still finished with 9.5 points that week 1 game. And then sprinkle in week 6, week 7, he's had 100+ rushing yard games, and he finished both those games as RB6. Back to why it really doesn't matter this week. If it's a 1A, 1B kind of situation, they're going up against the Giants. The Bears got to play the worst rush defense in the league last week with Cincinnati. they get to follow it this week with the second worst in the Giants. This is a week where you have either guy you don't know where to play. You rarely, or if ever, besides this week, to ever hear me say, "Hey, play them both. Why not?" But honestly,
Mm.
I really do think you can play both Swift and Monungai and get actual points from both of them this week. They can easily be close to the triple tier, both of them in rushing yards. The Giants are just terrible with the rush defense. Now, it does make me a little nervous. I'm not going to lie, because if it is after this week the 1A 1B situation, you're really going to have to monitor how they want to work with Swift, especially because Ben Johnson did phase him out in Detroit way back when. And I'm not saying that can happen again here in Chicago, but it's a possibility. But I like both of them this week. I think I'm leaning more Monungai, to be honest, because you don't see Monungai fall back. He falls forward every single time he gets hit because he's always pushing that pile. But you have Swift. I play him this week. If he's in the game, I say you play him. The Giants just suck.
Oh, yeah. I'm totally with you. If DeAndre Swift is healthy, play him easily. That's not like even a question for me. I'm totally on your side here. My wide receiver 5-tier guy is Washington's Jalen Lane. As we all know and love, the very big household name of Jalen Lane at wide receiver 60. He's got a range of 19. He's ranked highest at 47 and lowest at 66. He's currently wide receiver 107 in fantasy points per game. And you might be like, Topher, 107? Not touching that. We're going to talk about it. He's got a 12% target share, 18% air yards, and 21% end zone target share when he's on the field. Luke McCaffrey. I want to say it's a collarbone injury. Noah Brown, hurt. Terry McLaurin, hurt. He is number 5 on the depth chart, and now he's number 2. He's a number 2 guy playing in the NFL. You have to look his way. You can't just let it happen. In the 2 games he's played with 60% snap share or more, he's had 5 and 6 targets. So when he's on the field, he is being targeted. He is being looked at. He's got no touchdowns on the year. Let's be real. Nobody's expecting that, especially at 107. No way. But they're going to be playing from behind, especially this week. They're playing Detroit. They're not just going to roll on their backs and just let it happen. Plus, their running game hasn't been anything special. Bill Krusky, Merritt, Alexander Hamilton, McQueen III has not been doing anything of importance. And so Jalen Lane might be somebody that if you're desperate, it's not my favorite play, but he could be a viable, sneaky play for a week or two while these injuries are there. And while you know that Marcus Mariota is starting and he needs to have somebody to throw to besides Deebo Samuel and 39,500-year-old Zach Ertz.
Yeah, and you kind of hit it on the nose there with the household name. I honestly learned his name 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whenever they played the Bears, because he had that huge catch towards the end of the game, but had no idea who he was. And
he's a rookie.
I'm hoping the best for him, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Mariota is gonna do this week with limited weapons. So my last guy is not in the RB5 or 6 tier. He's a guy I want to touch on because people are getting excited. He's actually currently listed in the RB4 tier, and that's NFL Network's fault again. That's Bucky Irving listed at RB37. His range as high up on the list as 10, and that's the NFL Network. And everyone else has him closer to the 50 mark. and that's where he's sitting 10 to 50 right now. And he's eligible to come back this week. But Big Butt was not a full
Yeah.
participant in practice. Now, they listed him as did not practice, but he was out there, just wasn't taking any contact, which should deter people from getting too excited because they just came off a bye week. He's coming off the bye week, coming off his injury, pretty much not practicing Wednesday. It's not really a good sign. But let's say he does play. Let's say they're like, yep, he's good to go. He goes out there and plays. They're going up against the Patriots. Patriots have the best rush defense in the league. No one, and I mean no team they have played this year, has really been able to get their running backs going against them. If you were to take one guess, I'll give you the teams that they have played really quick. Let's see. Patriots schedule. They have now gone up against they have gone up against the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Saints, the Browns, and let's see, Falcons, Titans, Bills, Steelers. Now, out of all those teams, who do you think would have been able to probably have the most rushing yards on them in the season?
Well, realistically, it should be Bijan Robinson, but it's not, I'm guessing. I'm going to go like a Jalen Warren or I know Kenny Gainwell had a crazy game. I feel like it's a Steeler.
It is not. It is Josh Allen, who rushed for 53 yards versus them.
Whoop.
They have been absolutely dominating that run game. I
didn't realize that. Dang.
I know that they were doing well, but the fact that the most rushing yards against them came from, granted, a quarterback that can't run, but it was from a quarterback, and it was only 53 yards.
Wow.
So people that are excited for Bucky Irving to come back this year, or this week.
This week, if he comes back, yeah.
If he comes back, just hold your horses a little bit. Give him a week. Do not play him here.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm just looking at this right now. 47, 49, 49, 46 are the only 4 games above 40 yards for a single running back. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I learned something new today. Thank you for that. And thank you to all of you that have been listening, those of you that asked questions, those of you that support us from behind the scenes and all that, aka my dogs. I know you're listening, clearly. So again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being on here. Michael, do you have anything else before we head out?
Nope, just appreciate y'all, and thanks for coming through, and keep the questions coming. We love them.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, and you all have a good week. Deuces.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.